Hello everyone, my name is Caroline and I have with me Matt over here, and we're going to be talking about the AFI's top 100 movies of the past 100 years, which was made a little bit ago, so it doesn't include any movies from this century, which we'll address later. We're not going to do every movie on this list, but we'll do the ones that we can talk about. The first one up on the list, number 99, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
All right, so Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is a movie about, it's basically, I think it's right after segregation or during segregation, but it focuses on a couple that are interracially dating, which was not really huge in the era, and the couple, Mr. Prentice and Joey, they get a lot of hate basically because they're interracially dating. And basically the whole plot focuses on the couple meeting with their families to basically unearth that they're getting married, even though they only knew each other for 20 days, I believe.
Yeah, it stars Sidney Poitier, who's the first African-American to win an Oscar. And I'm pretty sure Spencer Tracy. And it's old, but it's good. Next on the list, number 83, Platoon.
So I believe, I haven't seen Platoon in a long time, but I believe it's World War...
Vietnam.
Vietnam. It basically focuses on a platoon, as implied with the title, and it basically just is a platoon facing the hardships of Vietnam and the American soldiers facing the Vietnamese. I think it was a great movie. It was really dramatic, pretty sad too. But I think it's a movie that any sort of person who likes war movies like Saving Private Ryan should probably see. Even though it is old, it's really good.
The thing that makes Platoon good is that it's not like most movies about the World Wars where it's sort of like gung-ho America. And it focuses actually a lot on the struggles that these men have for fighting what they believe in because they don't really believe in it, and that was what Vietnam was about. And it also focuses on the flaws that the system has and that this war had, and there's a lot of difficult subject matter to take in, which heightens the experience, in my opinion. Next up, we have 78, Rocky.
78, Rocky. I'll let you do this one.
Rocky is about not a professional boxer, but he's like semi-pro.
Kind of building his way up to the top.
Exactly.
Sort of deal.
He wins a chance sort of to fight a very professional boxer who is like the championship all over the place, and he comes from nothing and is just trying to make a name for himself, and it's really emotional and dramatic, and it's kind of funny that we put Rocky and Platoon right next to each other, because Platoon is all about, like the downfalls of humanity and all this, and Rocky is such an uplifting, great movie, and it's Sylvester Stallone, and he actually wrote it, and he didn't direct that one, he directed the next like 4, but he wrote it himself and starred in it, and it's really great. It's a fun afternoon if you want to spend that watching Rocky. Next up is number 71, Forrest Gump.
All right, so Forrest Gump is it's one of my favorite movies. If this was my list, it'd be much higher. What number was it?
71.
71. I'd probably rank it up the top 10, but that's just my opinion. It just basically focuses on one man's life. He starts out as a very problem child. He's handicapped. He gets picked on a lot. And it's a lot, not a lot like Rocky, but it's kind of like Rocky. It focuses on basically his entire life and how he makes a name for himself and how he becomes a very notable person in his world kind of deal. And most of the movie is one huge flashback, as it's stated in the beginning of the movie.
It does a really great job covering the zeitgeist of America in different decades. it starts off in the 50s, I am almost positive, and ends up in the early 90s. So it's a great span of American
Stuff.
time, and it's also very American in its core, just like Matt was saying about how Rocky sort of came from nothing and became something. It's a similar American dream type fulfillment scenario, but, you know, it's got messages of true love and fatherhood and drug abuse, all the good stuff, all very American. Now our next one is number 60, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
All right, so everybody loves the Indiana Jones movies. We're not going to be talking about the Crystal Skull for reasons, but the Lost Ark is probably my second favorite Indiana Jones movie, my first being the Temple of Doom. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's very classic. I believe it came before or after.
It was the first one.
It was the first one. It was really probably the most popular Indiana Jones movie, probably in its time and this time. So back then and now,
Ever.
present, forever. I think it was a great movie. It's a great classic. I think it's one of those movies that everybody should see, at least the first one, because it's really dramatic, very action-packed, and it's probably, I know no other movie really like it that I could relate to.
Well, it's an adventure movie, sort of like the old, you know, like novels that you would get, like the paperback novels. So it's not, you know, it's not like any of some of the other movies on this list are, you know, really Oscar-winning classics about, you know, like humanity and all this. It's a fun movie. It's closer to Rocky in that aspect. I don't know why we keep relating every movie to Rocky, but, you know, Rocky's a good standard. Just a fun fact about Indiana Jones is that the PG-13 rating came about because of those movies. Steven Spielberg had it made especially because it wasn't too risque enough to be an R, but there were things in there that they wouldn't let it be PG for. So, just a fun fact. Now I'm done with my list.
All right, so number 55 is The Sound of Music. I'll let you do this one.
Sound of Music is about an Austrian nun who leaves the convent to become a governess, and she sort of brings light to these children's lives because their dad is really strict, and then there's a love story, and it's all singing, and then there's Nazis. Oh my goodness! So it's one of the classics. So, like, to put it in perspective, this was my Irish grandmother's favorite movie. So, you know, if that kind of is what you're getting at. It's got Julie Andrews, though, when she was really young, like pre-Poppins and pre-Princess Diaries. So if you want to check that out, it's very famous, very good.
All right, I don't really have anything to say about The Sound of Music. Number 49 is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's the animated movie, the first one, the very first one by Disney. You want me to? I'll do it.
You can
okay.
do it.
So the movie, it's a child's movie, but it's directed towards children, but has everybody's really seen it. It basically focuses on a young princess, Snow White, and her mother is the queen. And I don't know why it's so hard to explain. It's such an easy...
Well, it's just a fairy tale. I don't think you need to explain it.
Fairy tale, yeah. And the princess leaves the castle because her mother wants to kill her because the queen finds out she's not the fairest in the land, it's her daughter, and she wants to kill her daughter for being more really attractive than she is. And Snow White escapes, and she comes across a house which houses 7 dwarves, and the movie just kind of goes on from there.
Can you name the 7 dwarves?
Jeez. Dopey was my favorite. Grumpy.
Sleepy.
Happy. Sterny. Worky. dwarfy.
Sneezy. Did we say Sneezy?
No.
Okay.
I only knew like 2. Dopey and Grumpy, best ones.
We got 5, so sorry to those other 2 dwarves. What's next?
The next one is Jaws, number 48.
Jaws is awesome. I'm going to take this one because I love Jaws. Jaws is the first ever summer blockbuster that was pretty much invented by this movie. There were, like, lines all around the blocks going to see this. It's not really a horror movie, even though that it's portrayed as such for whatever reason. People, I guess, found it scary before there was sort of
People in the 70s were
special effects.
Sorry to interrupt you, but people in the 70s, I just want to say that when people saw this in 1975, people did not go near the ocean after they saw this movie. It scared the public into going to the ocean. And even like fishermen were scared because they didn't want to be attacked by Jaws, because people thought that they didn't think he was real, but just seeing the movie and seeing how real it is, people just didn't want to think about it and stayed away from the ocean. So it scared a lot of people from going into any sort of body of water.
Yep. The movie's about a rogue shark that starts attacking people by the beach. And the chief of police, shark expert, and local fishermen that go out to kill this shark. It's really funny. It's dramatic. I don't think it's scary, but you might find it scary.
I think it was terrifying.
Really?
Really. I think it's just unsettling. It's almost like, I don't want to spoil anything, but you're in the middle of an ocean, in the isolated ocean, and there's a overly huge, giant, white...
25-foot?
I can't remember what they're called.
Great white shark?
Great white shark. So it's just kind of like scary in itself, but I don't think the genre of the movie isn't necessarily a horror, even though it's quite frightening.
All right.
Okay. Number 43 is King Kong, the first one in 1933. Not the Peter Jackson one, not the good one. I don't see. The first one.
Which one is the good one?
Honestly, I like the newer one better, in all honesty, just because of the effects. I don't want to go too far into the newer one, but I just want to say that I think they should have used the green screen a bit better at times.
It was... Oh, the new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Oh, interesting.
Anyways, the first one.
That was 1933, so they were not that expert
Yes.
in green screen technology.
Okay.
Moment of silence.
Awkward,
terrible special
awkward.
effects. It's like claymation.
People taking offense.
King
Oh
Kong.
God. Was it claymation?
Yeah, it's like
Oh
Rudolph.
my God.
Rudolph Claycon.
So
Jeez.
the story is pretty easy to follow. A film crew and they're shooting a film, and they're shooting a film. So they go to Skull Island. The name of the place they go to is Skull Island. It just sounds scary in itself. Hey, let's go to Skull Island to shoot a film. No. So you go. So they go to the island to shoot a film, and one of the main actors, I can't remember what the character's name is, but
Doesn't matter.
the damsel in distress almost gets captured by a tribe that inhabits the island, very primitive tribe, and they basically worship idols. I believe in the older one they did worship statues, and they did worship King Kong, and everybody knows the scene where she's tied up on the thing and King Kong comes and snatches her and then runs off into the woods. And the majority of the movie, they're trying to recover the damsel in distress. And it basically follows the film crew's hardships of trying to get to her and trying to avoid all the scary monsters that are on the island, like big insects and T-Rexes and scary.
Well, it's not necessarily that much in the old one. They eventually, well, it's like midway through the movie, they capture King Kong and bring him back.
Yep.
And it's
in New York.
Yes, and they bring him to New York to be displayed in chains, but it backfires.
Yeah.
and it's a metaphor
Pretty
for
much
slavery.
a bad idea. Really?
Yes.
Really?
So think about that when you're watching your claymation Rudolph King Kong.
So the next movie is To Kill a Mockingbird, number 34.
God bless Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch.
Best fictional character of all time.
The actor was really great in that movie. It's the same actor who was in Roman Holiday. I can't
Gregory
remember
Peck.
his name.
It's Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. That's the actor's name. What movie are we doing? To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay. So you can do this one.
To Kill a Mockingbird is the best ever. It's about a little girl named Scout in the South in the Depression. And there's all sorts of racism involved. And essentially a black man is framed for raping a white woman. And so he's put on trial. And Atticus, who's Scout's dad, has to defend this black man because it's the right thing to do. Even though that he's going to lose no matter what because everybody's racist down there. Because it's, it's 30s. But he's just the coolest person in the world. It's not real, but, he's based off Harper Lee's dad. Scout is based off Harper Lee, who wrote the book. And everyone should read the book before they see the movie, but the movie's really good.
All right, you basically got that. I don't have anything else to say except that for his, I think when I saw it, Atticus Finch is he's an awesome character. He's just awesome in himself. He basically is kind of like not this, almost like the stereotype of that era. Like, even though they are in the South and there were rednecks about, he was very intelligent. I don't want that to sound mean. It kind of did.
It's okay. They didn't have any money.
Yeah.
To be educated.
So Atticus basically stood up for what is right, and he was basically standing up for what is right. That's all I have to say. And he was white, defending a black man. So I think that's awesome.
Atticus rules.
All right, Atticus for president.
Absolutely. God, he would run this country so well.
Godfather Part 2.
We're going to talk about both Godfathers, even though the original Godfather is like the highest one we have, but we're just going to kill two birds with one stone right now.
Kill a Mockingbird.
I was going to say that. Yeah. So The Godfather, in my opinion, I think the second one's better. You got Robert De Niro, a bunch of flashbacks. I Knew It Was You, Fredo. It's all the famous parts are from the second Godfather, in my opinion. I like it a lot better.
I can't really say too much about The Godfather because I haven't seen it in so long. But it's a lot, it's not a lot like, but it's kind of like The Godfather. There's, again, like, it's like Indiana Jones. There's nothing really like it. Both of them are awesome movies. I really enjoyed watching them both years ago when I was just a wee child and can't recall any of the information, but I remembered it was good.
It's better
So
to
go
watch
watch
when
it.
you're older.
Yeah.
They have them on all day on every Thanksgiving on AMC. So if you are just sitting around your house on Thanksgiving, don't like football, just watch The Godfather.
I will watch The Godfather this Thanksgiving.
Do it.
E.T. 25, Extraterrestrial.
Yes.
I can't believe I pronounced that right.
Extraterrestrial.
No. So E.T. is about an extraterrestrial, otherwise known as an alien in our culture. Nobody calls them extraterrestrials. I don't know why that was so funny. Yeah, so it's basically about a young alien.
You know he's young.
Because he wants his parents in the end, right?
He just wants to go home.
Oh, damn, I just spoiled it.
Well, he wants to go home the whole movie. That's in the trailer. E.T. Oh, no.
Yeah, E.T., the glowing finger.
Yeah.
It basically follows a young alien who I believe he got lost on Earth somehow. He got left behind, I believe. And he befriends a child.
Elliot.
And he poses as a human several times. What was...
Elliot.
Elliot. I can't remember his name. He lives secretly with the child, and Elliot's brother and sister both find out of his presence, and they don't want to tell any of the adults because they don't want him to go and get taken by the military.
It's really
which
emotional.
He does.
It's a really emotional story.
It really is, because...
I cried the last time I watched it. Like, even the music sometimes, you're just like, oh, yes.
Jeez, yeah, I know.
T-phone home.
And just like, I don't want to spoil anything, but just what happens in the movie is just really like dramatic, and it's sort of suspenseful in itself, because there's a point where it's going like good, and then you just start hitting the like conflicts.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my god. More crying.
Yep, very sad, but very, very, very good.
Well put.
Yep. 2001, The Space Odyssey, number 22. I don't really...
I hate this movie.
I feel like it shouldn't be... I feel like it shouldn't be this far up on the list.
It's famous because of Kubrick directing it, but I think that you could have picked The Shining should be in its place.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of filmmaking because it's the same guy, but I just really don't like 2001. There's really no story. It doesn't really make any sense, and then you're just like, what the whole time? And
what happens in the movie basically is it kind of visualizes humanity, like the rise of humanity in a way. And I'm just gonna say in the beginning, not in the beginning, but some part during the movie, there are cavemen, like the very beginning of people, even though I'm pretty sure they didn't really exist. They existed. No, that's not true. I didn't say that. But cave people, or the early humans, were worshiping a huge monolith, which is actually, I believe in, no, it's not, a Space Odyssey. Never mind.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was like 2001, a space
huge monolith.
I almost saw it, space monolith, and I'm like, what is that? Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's where the only like valuable contribution this movie gave to my life was that I knew where that song is, where it's like boom, 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 boom. That's all you need to know about 2001. You can skip that one, in my opinion.
And that music, that audio that they used at that scene is everywhere now. I mean, it's in a lot of movies, and it's in a lot of TV shows. Really, it's everywhere. Even to this day, they've been using it for a very, very long time.
Indeed.
So, I love Star Wars, just saying. I like it a lot. I like the older ones and the newer ones. There are a lot of mixed reviews about the newer ones, because you kind of, if you saw the older movies, you kind of know what's going to happen with Darth Vader. Everybody likes Darth Vader. But
even though he's the bad guy.
Even though he is the bad guy, everybody still loves him. Okay, so we're going to talk about Episode 4. So that's basically the very first Star Wars film, and 4.
It's the fourth episode, but the first one that came out.
Yeah. So number 1, 2, and 3 came later on, very much later on. Not very much later on, but later on. So Star Wars Episode 4.
A New Hope.
I almost said it was produced by Disney. A New Hope. I'm trying to remember the beginning. It takes the beginning. You open up. You don't open it up, but the film opens on a spaceship where there's men defending the rebels, defending a spaceship, so that the stormtroopers and Darth Vader can't get on and get the princess, who's Princess Leia, who is basically pretty much one of the biggest Star Wars characters in all of the movies.
You got Obi-Wan.
Yeah, you got Ben Kenobi. That's what they called him. Ben Kenobi in 4. You
got Yoda. You got...
Yep, Luke Skywalker. Darth Vader. Princess Leia. Boba Fett. He's my favorite.
Han Solo's my fave.
Gotta love the Fett Man.
Gotta love Harrison Ford.
Chewbacca.
Indiana Jones.
And the Millennium Falcon, even though the
Millennium Falcon counts as a character.
Yeah.
Anyway, great.
So yeah, I mean, you can't really, like, Star Wars basically takes place on another galaxy far, far away. I can't believe I just said that, but it does. It even says it in the beginning. It's like almost like their world is, their universe or galaxy is much more advanced than what we are. They have like spaceships. They have lightsabers.
It's a war
blasters.
in the
Everybody
stars.
I shouldn't have to explain Star Wars.
Yeah,
Everybody
you don't have
knows
to.
it.
I think we're good.
Yeah, so let's go to number 9, Schindler's List.
That's a rough one. We've had, I think, 2 Spielberg movies on here. We got E.T. and Jaws.
Yep.
So Schindler's List would be the opposite end of the Spielberg spectrum, whereas you go serious. We're talking about the Holocaust. We've got some concentration camps, but Oskar Schindler was a German. Oh, this is a real story, guys, real. He was a German who ran a concentration camp, but his was like the good one. He saved a bunch of people by bringing them there.
Yep.
So he would try to get their names on his list,
Yeah.
Schindler's List, so they would be safe.
Okay, so yeah, Schindler's List is a really sad, kind of depressing. It's very dramatic.
It's one of the more uplifting Holocaust stories, though,
It
because
really
it is about
is.
him saving people, and I know that you know it's not
It's
like
usually
great
not,
conditions.
It's usually not possible to like having a good Holocaust story, except when it ended. Just having just something positive during the Holocaust is just really like great for
Humanity.
yeah, great for the Germans because it just made like I don't know if Schindler was really considered a Nazi, was he? He wasn't.
He wasn't part of the Nazi Party, no.
Even though he did lead a concentration camp, he was a bit more human than any of his colleagues.
He saved lives.
He did.
He was great.
Great guy.
It's Liam Neeson.
So the next one is Wizard of Oz, number 6.
I used to watch The Wizard of Oz every day when I came home from preschool. Basically, it's a story of Dorothy, who is a little girl in Kansas, and she just loves her dog. And there's a mean old lady down the street, and she's like, "I'm gonna get your dog." And Dorothy's like, no, I love Toto." So she,
She basically has a dream.
yeah, because there's a big tornado, and
Yep.
she kind of gets knocked out. So then she wakes up, and she's like, "What? My house just dropped on this lady with red ruby slippers,
Right.
and we're in this world where there's yellow and there's like little munchkins everywhere. What?" Turns out she's in
She's in
another
her like
world.
little own
It's
like
not Oz.
it's
Oh
like
no, it is Oz because they gotta go to the Emerald City.
yeah. So
They're in Oz.
it's kind of like even though that I almost said even though Oz is real, I almost said that it's not real. So it's like kind of she's in her own like fantasy world in a way. It's very like childlike, so it kind of like characterizes her as just being so young and just just loving life.
Oh yeah, it's great. You got yourself the Tin Man, Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. And the Tin Man wants a heart, and the Cowardly Lion wants some courage, and the Scarecrow only wants a brain, and Dorothy just wants to go home.
And Toto doesn't really know.
And Toto's a dog.
He's a dog. He
so.
doesn't really care. Yes.
But follow the yellow brick road.
Yep. Okay. Gone with the Wind, number 4. I'll let you do this one.
This is our highest rated film that we're going to review, besides The Godfather, which I think is like what, number 2?
Yeah. No, number 3.
Number 3.
Yep.
So the Gone with the Wind is a tale of the Reconstruction era South. Right after the Civil War, you've got Scarlett O'Hara, who is in love with her cousin, so that's cool, Ashley. But you've got Rhett Butler, who's in love with her, and then they're pretty much in love. It's a big, you got your love triangle, there are deaths, there's all sorts of things happening. It's an epic of the South. It's really long, so if you want to consider that in your time.
I believe the running time was it like 4 hours or something?
Something close to that.
No?
Something close to that.
Oh, I thought you said not even close.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Gone with the Wind because
Great
there's so much things that happen in Gone with the Wind. You couldn't just cover it like we did with the other movies. You need more time to do that.
4-hour running time.
Yeah, so we need 4 hours. All right, so that was the last one on our list.
So that was a fun list, but it doesn't include anything after 2000. So we compiled a list of 5 movies we think should be on this list from the past 14 years. Why don't you start us? I'll start us off, actually, because I have 3. We're going to start with The Social Network. It came out in 2009? No, 2011. I'm so sorry. Came out in 2011. 2010.
I hope so.
It was 2010.
I don't know the year it came
I'm
out.
so sorry. It's definitely 2010. It's 2010. The Social Network came out in 2010. It's about the creation of Facebook as a website. And the fact that Mark Zuckerberg sort of agreed to make this other website and then sort of maybe took these twins' idea, so they sue him. And then he does like the whole movie, you're like, it's told in sort of weird cutting flashbacks, so it's a little hard to follow and if you're not paying attention. But his best friend ends up suing him as well. So you're like, why? What did he do? Mark Zuckerberg, you're so mean. But it's so emotional.
I really did like The Social Network. The only fact is, I mean, the only problem I had with it is that, excuse me, they really, sorry, they really they really kind of characterized Mark Zuckerberg as being the antagonist in a way. In the movie, he did steal the idea. In the movie, he did do it.
Not necessarily.
He kind of did.
It's completely up to interpretation. The fact that I disagree is another reason why this movie's great, is because there's no right answer. And, you're presented the facts very blankly, and you have to decide, is Mark Zuckerberg as awful? The first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, he's the worst person alive. And then I watched it like 10 more times, and now I'm like almost on his side. Almost. He's not that great, but,
I do believe, I don't want to get into this, but I do believe that he may have, just maybe, taken the Winklevoss twins' idea of the Facebook. Even though it's Facebook, it was the Facebook. It had a D in the middle, in the beginning, not the middle. But he was at Harvard, and I believe he did drop out of it, right?
Yeah, it's all true. Everything that happens.
And Sean Parker. Somebody characterized him in the movie as also being an antagonist.
He's despicable.
Really?
I don't care how many times I watch that movie. I hate him so much.
He's very, very greedy in the movie. Very characterized as being pretty greedy.
It's Justin
All
Timberlake.
about the money.
If that'll draw you in. You also got Andrew Garfield, who's Spider-Man, and Jesse Eisenberg, who's awesome. He's Lex Luthor too, but that movie won't come out for a couple of years, so he's just awesome right now.
All right, so I don't have anything else to say about the Social Network.
What's your name one?
All right, my next one is Austin Powers. Just kidding. District 9, which came out in 2009?
I think so.
2009. The story is basically about aliens, a big, huge UFO full of insect-like aliens that they basically just kind of get stranded on Earth. And the United States government seizes the ship, and they board the ship, and they take all the aliens off, and they put them in basically slums.
They created District 9, which has
9.
all the aliens in it.
District 9. District 9. It's for the title. Anyways, so the movie follows, I believe he's a scientist, or he's some sort of public relations.
He's a journalist, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, journalist, who basically is just writing, or he's videographing.
He's making a documentary. The whole thing is shot documentary style.
Right.
So it's almost like clips of like news as if it was really happening, which makes it pretty cool.
He's basically following the lifestyle of the insect aliens. And he's basically just kind of like showing like, hey people, this is what they live in. But he's not really like making the documentary for the better of the aliens. It's just kind of like...
He's exploiting them.
He's exposing them. There's, in one of the first scenes of the movie, it's not a spoiler because it happens in the beginning, he is crushing their eggs. They had this like shed area where they stored their eggs, and he basically demolished them. or he had his guys demolish him for him. And it's ironic because he kind of gets karma. Karma comes back to bite him later on, but I'm not going to say anything about that because I don't want to give anything away. But it's a good movie, and again, there's nothing really else like it. I don't know any other copycat movies or.
It's a very original.
Yeah.
Sci-fi piece. Next movie I chose was No Country for Old Men. Now this is a movie starring Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones. It's based on a Cormac McCarthy novel or a short story or something. It's directed by the Coen brothers. It's the whole first half hour. This is the first half hour of the movie. There's no dialogue. It's all visual. The way that they tell the story is magnificent. It's very non-traditional. It talks about basically the changing world around us because it's no country for old men, because there's all this stuff happening that's just not the way that it used to be. It's sort of how the American South, or maybe just America in general, is changing somewhat for the worse, and people are losing track of what's going on, and it's sort of becoming chaotic. It's another ambiguous, open-ended, just kind of gives you the facts with no prejudice. It's really good.
Okay. So I just kind of like spaced out for a second. I was like, all right. So I'm not really going in order. I'm just kind of listing them off. Another movie that I would put on a newer movie list would be Slumdog Millionaire, which I think it might be.
It won Best Picture.
Yeah. So it's probably maybe on one of AFI's list. Did I say that right? AFI? Yep. Okay. So Slumdog Millionaire. It's about a young boy and his brother and mother who live in the Middle East somewhere. I can't remember where, but they live in horrible India. They live in pretty bad conditions. They live in slums, like District 9. Hence the title, Slumdog Millionaire.
Why is he a millionaire, though? That's the other plot point.
We'll see. That's what we're going to find out. Okay.
Well, you can explain it. That's the plot point. He gets to be on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So
right.
he's just a slumdog.
The movie is basically all a flashback. In the beginning, he's actually on the Millionaire show, and I think he's basically making his way up to the top when we start out. He's not on the first questions of the Millionaire show. He's pretty much up there. He's almost winning that $1 million. And people are doubting him because he didn't really receive the greatest education. But he is getting the answers from his movie, from his past experiences with his brother and some of his dear friends, and some of his life is where he's getting the answers. Mm-hmm. So the movie it's very dramatic. It is sad. It is sad. Mm-hmm. It has a great picture, great acting.
It's Dev Patel and Frida Pinto. Right.
So I have nothing really else to say about it except
great movie.
It's good. It's really, really good. So go see it. Okay.
Pretty sure that was 2009. I mean 7.
2007.
But I could be wrong.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so.
The last movie that we're going to talk about is The Departed. I think this is Martin Scorsese's best film, which is saying something because he makes a lot of really good movies. It's actually a remake of I'm pretty sure it's Japanese movie. Basically, it follows a police officer who's working undercover in the Irish mob in Boston, and someone in that Irish mob who's working undercover as a police officer. So you've got Matt Damon as the criminal undercover as a cop, and Leonardo DiCaprio is the cop undercover as a criminal. You've got Vera Farmiga, who is now famous for Bates Motel. You've got Jack Nicholson playing a Whitey Bulger influenced character because he's running the mob. That might be all of the really big players. Anyway, it's got so much drama because you've got all this like undercover like people ratting on each other and like what's happening, and there's all sorts of like betrayal and spying, and it's so good. It's so good. Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin. There you go. What more can you ask for?
All right, so I believe we are done here. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time.